but he told that we could take over this world, the Krishna consciousness movement could take over the world in 18 days if we would only give up our petty, false, egoistical dealings, etc. Isn't it?
If we would follow his instructions.
If we would follow his instructions, if we would give up our attachments to sense gratification, etc.
Yeah.
So he was asking that sometimes these subtle desires for or attachments to sense gratification, that what will be the outcome of our attachments to sense gratification individually and collectively. So the obvious answer to the question would be that if we remain attached, even a pinch of desire for material sense gratification, you're going to remain within the material world, because Krishna is so kind that he'll give you another material body with which to pursue that paltry sense gratification, both individually and collectively.
Yeah, I took the positive side.
Yeah, so I'm throwing it on the
positive side is, yes, we're here, we're in the hospital to get cured.
Yeah.
So if we leave the hospital, then of course, if you leave prematurely, then you get diseased again. So, yes, that goes almost without saying, because that's what was described here in the verse, that we have to give up these things. Yeah, so we're here to give them up, and we accept that someone who's come to the Krishna consciousness movement has that desire, and therefore he's sincere. That's a sign of his sincerity that he's come here. And we want to encourage everyone to stay and continue on the process.
We should always remember that we're here for revolution and evolution. We're here to individually and collectively overthrow the influence of this demoniac civilization, etc. And it's going to take our a great deal of introspection, and a great deal of let's say purging of our own hearts in order to come to the standard that our charges actually expect of us in spite of ourselves.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll stop there. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
That Krishna, who is unlimited, can condescend to give his everything to the limited. Not only give it everything, outright surrender. Krishna will cry on the feet of the jiva. He cries on Radharani's feet. That's wonderful. That Krishna, who's the supreme enjoyer, cries on the feet of his devotees. Radharani. Radharani is the supreme devotee. She's infinitely more powerful than Krishna. Madan Mohan, Mohini. So it's not such a wonderful thing, all for this, that Krishna is crying on Radharani. What's wonderful is that he'll cry on the feet of his. That is relishing lust. But he will not only cry on the feet if you take shelter. Then he will come crying, begging for you to help make the arrangements for his desires to be fulfilled, for his to mitigate his distress. He wants to. What is that distress? That distress is that he wants to distribute himself to the others. He wants to give himself. Who can he give himself to? You can't really say that you give himself, that you give yourself to someone that is non-different from yourself. in Swakya Ras. You understand Swakya? In Swakya Ras, the wife is the better half of the husband's body. The wife is not different from himself. But in Parakya Ras, there's some greater degree of distance, in spite of the fact that ontologically speaking, there's no difference between, but for the purpose of rasa, for the purpose of lila, by the grace of Yogamaya, etc., the arrangements are made for Krishna to have someone who belongs to another for him to give himself. So that is his greatest distress, is that he wants to give himself to others. So to facilitate his paracurious is most our Gaudiya Sampradaya is different from the Nimbarka Sampradaya. The Gaudiya Sampradaya and the Nimbarka Sampradaya have two clearly distinct goals. They're different. The realm that they attain is different. Nimbarka also worships Radha Krishna, but in Swakya, on the basis of Sambhog. Sambhog means continuous. Sambhog ras means that there's the continuous feeling of being combined. Yeah, there's no separation in union. Nor is there union and separation, because there's no concept of separation. Yes. They have what is called, they attain what is called Nitya Nakunj Vihar. There are no elements which can serve to create Vipralambha. They don't appreciate Vipralambha. They say that Vipralambha is antagonistic to Sambhog Ras, which is what they perceive to be the ultimate happiness of Radha and Krishna. But and they attain a realm in Golokdham in which Radha and Krishna are married. That's why in Gopal Champu there's some description of the idea of marriage. There was no actual description of any marriage, but the idea as a kind of dream, a kind of visionary dream is mentioned, simply to pacify those who were previously associated, or let's say influenced by the Nimbarka's preaching, Nimbarka Sampradaya's preaching here in Braja during the time of Jiva Goswami. He had many disciples who were so influenced. So therefore, to pacify them, he mentioned in that way. But in actuality, he has never expressed the Sambhog or Swakya movement. But less intelligent persons may think the case. The Gaudiyas, however, they attain the realm in which Radha and Krishna are in their Vipalamba mind mode, which is considered to be the topmost realm. Of Braja, the inner circle. Get it from there. So Radha and Krishna's Parikya ras, which is based on Vipalamba ras. Swakya is based on Sambhog ras, and Parikya is based on Vipalamba. So Parikya relationship facilitates this desire for Krishna, this pain in his heart, this distress. He wants to be able to give himself to someone. He has no one that he can give himself to. So to facilitate
Does it have battery?
no, my battery's not.
There's a candle on the shelf.
There's a lighter right next to you.
I got it.
No, it's safe. That's safe.
Paper. Put another candle.
Or maybe on a tray with
No.
water in it.
No risk.
That's fine.
It's an interesting statement that Prabhupada says we should be enriched to the highest level of separation.
Yes,
It says that's the perfection. Like you said, the inner circles is the perfection of it.
we are meant to, the Gaudiya Sampradaya is distributing this Vipalamba ras in all the five houses. Because the Radha and Krishna of the realm of Braja is the Vipalamba mind of Radha and Krishna. So the cowherd boys and Muddy Soda and Nand Maharaj, every resident of Braja, they are all infused with this Vipalamba ras. They all see Krishna, Radha and Krishna in those terms. All of the different rasas, such as Sakya Bhav and all of them, all the others, they serve to augment the sweetness of Radha and Krishna's Vajrayana feelings. There's nothing else going on. That's why Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states that if you don't know the Madhurya heart of Krishna, then you really don't know Krishna.
Where does he say that? That's nice.
Even Mother Soda, although she can't imagine, but she wants Radharani to be. Can't imagine the point. Yes. Whatever is our heart's desire, we should pursue it with our full body, mind, and words of all of our life's energies. There's no time to waste. We cannot expect to go back to God in one lifetime unless we immerse ourselves in Krishna consciousness. Full Krishna consciousness. And why not? So sweet. We should be attached to nothing else. Everything serves. Aham karo vimura. Those who are bewildered by false ego think that the relative conditions are manifesting of their own without seeing the hand of Krishna underneath Krishna's purpose. Krishna's a cranky boy. He's just doing anything and everything to try to get our attention. That's false. The only reason why he's doing that is because he loves us. Just like the cranky boy that falls in love with a girl in school. He does anything and everything. He dumps her braids into the inkwell, ruins her dress, when she gets up. Throws spitballs across the room. Tweaks her hair, pinches her in various ways, giving her all kinds of trouble. Why do you think he's doing so much? Because he's enchanted. He wants to have a relationship. He just wants a little conciliation. Hey, what about me? Don't you think I'm nice? Sometimes he, gives us a lightning bolt, and sometimes he gives us a rose. Sometimes he pinches us, sometimes he gives us a box of sweets. But they're all expressions of Krishna's desire to have an eternal relationship with us. If we recognize that in anything which happens to us, whether it appears to be, auspicious or inauspicious, in any adversity in life, all these things are simply Krishna's expressions of his desire for eternal relationship. There's nothing else going on. The fact that we think that it's something else is our mind, our illusions, illusory perception. We misunderstand what we're looking at. In reality, there's only one thing which is Maya Dikshina Prakriti. Krishna is controlling this Prakriti. Prakriti Kriya Nama. Prakriti Kriya. She's acting in such a way as to remind us of the fact that Krishna wants our attention. That's all. Krishna's Sarvakadakana. just like when the motherly gopis would come to Mother Yashoda's house to complain about Krishna's breaking their butter and yogurt pots in their homes. But when they saw the face of Krishna, they lost their anger toward him. You know, even what was it? They threatened to
Lodge complaints.
no, they threatened. They told Mother Yasoda that we keep our yogurt and butter high up, but somehow they get to it, even though it's in a dark room.
It's high up.
You know, we think that maybe his jewels are.
Lighting.
So then Mother Yasoda was telling that I should take off the jewels, and then they say no, don't do that, because that ruins the decoration. You know, because they were appreciating the sweetness of his beautiful moonlight face.
Like the other day, yesterday, went on Parikram and Savakund, and Ron said that, when Prabhupada was doing his Parikram with his disciples, so he just didn't want to enter Savakund, he just touched his forehead, he said, no, I'm not, like, qualified to enter Savakund. As a matter of fact, we just entered, and I was thinking, like, really, like, for point of view, like, then what we're doing here, like, kind of polluting place, because, I mean, sometimes it's difficult to just, really balance these things, because if Prabhupada said I'm not qualified to understand the things, then, you feel somehow or another, for me, it's like, I'm like sheep, anyway, I don't understand anything, I just bring my body there, work there, just do businesses there, bring my body and just go there, because there's the level, I guess.
We know
how
we're
we
not
enter.
qualified.
No, it's I'm saying, like, there's the level how we enter.
Yeah.
Doing some
Whatever. But
goals and
whatever mercy I can get. You know, I know I'm not qualified. I'm not qualified to even put one step in Braja. This dust is so holy. How I could possibly put my feet on this dust, which is non-different from quality, which is non-different from Radha, which is non-different from Krishna. How I can put my feet? I should come crawling in with straw between my teeth, crying and crying, wishing that my tears could be sweet instead of salty. Who can say they're qualified for anything? You think I'm qualified to be associated with this great sampradaya? I'm not qualified. But I need the mercy. I'm shutting the door. Where's the water? Actually, I have to make an offering. We need the mercy. Just like some people argue against bathing in Radha Kunda. Because it's not different from Radha Kunda. But I say, do you think that there's any difference between Radharani and Vishaka? What does Vishaka mean? There's no difference between the form of Radha and Vishaka. But Vishaka is Kaya Vyuha. Is the Vyuha or expansion of Radharani's very body. So, do you know who is Vishaka's other form?
Jamuna.
Yes, Jamuna Devi. How can you put your feet at Yamuna River is not different from Yamuna Devi. It's the liquid form of Yamuna Devi, who is not different from Vishaka, who is not different from Radha. Vishaka manifests in a golden sort to remind Krishna of Radha, and Yamuna Devi manifests in a shamish sort to remind Radha of Krishna. As a matter of fact, the worship of the Tadiya is higher than worshipping directly. Just like Radhakund is not different from Radha, yet it is also Tadiya. Radha is not different from Krishna, yet she is Krishna Tadiya. So the worship of Krishna Tadiya is higher than the worship of Krishna himself. So the worship of Radhakund is higher than the worship of Radha. Not only is the worship of Radhakund higher than the worship of Radha, but even higher than that, higher than the worship of Radha, is the worship of Radha's Sakhis, who are the Tadiya of the Sakhis of Radha. The maidservants are the Tadiya, the devotees of the Sakhis, etc. So on one hand, there are devotees who will refuse to take bath in Yamuna out of respect for Yamuna Devi. There are devotees who will refuse to pass stool or urine in the land of Braja out of respect. You know, how far do you want to go with the principle? There are devotees, as expressed in the Charitamrita, there are devotees in the highest principle of prasad seva is that one should not even dare to place this Mahaprasad, which is non-different from Krishna's Antaranga Shakti, which is non-different from Krishna. The most highly worshipable item of Mahaprasad in our filthy cesspool mouth. How we can dare to allow Krishna, the supreme, unlimitedly beautiful, all attractive, enchanting, and his mistress Radha in the form of the holy name to dance on our filthy tongues? How dare you even think of it? Only keep them within your mind.
So what, like
Dirty.
Radhakund Babaji?
No, that's
How could you dare to think in those terms? Allowing Krishna to dance on the tongue. Yuck. Who would want to dance on it? Filthy stool-bag tongue. You know? But are we to think in these terms? How far do we want to go with it? Where is it? Where's the line where we recognize that, hey, yes, we know we're the most fallen of the fallen of the fallen of the fallen. You know, we're worse than the worstest of the worst. No doubt about it. That's why we need the mercy. That's why we have to go crawling in to Sevakunj and at least pick up a few pieces of the rubbish just thrown under the trees, under the bushes, under the creepers. This unlimited rubbish thrown there. Why? To give a few fallen souls a chance to do a little saving. Radha and Krishna. And get them. It's absolutely right. Prabhupada is absolutely correct. He's saying he has no qualification. We say also how we can think that if he has no qualification, we have no qualification. He's pointing out to us what should be our motive. We should dare to approach there. But what is Sevakunj in comparison to Govardhan? What is Govardhan in comparison to Radhakunj? Yet Radha Prabhupada went with his devotees to Radhakunj, and he told Guru Kripa Maharaj and Yashodananda Maharaj to get down and submerge yourself. And they did so in his presence. What is their qualification? Their qualification is the mercy of their Guru, in spite of all the reluctance. You have no qualification.
You have the complex that, sooner or later will be slaughtered by offenses, because somehow you get in one hand purification, but on the other hand you commit so many offenses anyway. So finally, eventually, what I thought, that's why it makes me totally complex person that, eventually you'll be slaughtered by your offenses.
This is wrong thinking. Because the offenses, the reaction to offenses is temporary. But the benefit of devotional service, whatever devotional service has been done, is eternal. We cannot be a loser. Even if there are offenses committed, no doubt, we are walking, talking. But there's no offense which is committed in the Dham which cannot be rectified by the mercy of God. Any offense which is committed in Braja Dham cannot be rectified anywhere else, except for Braja or Navadvip, which is not yet accomplished. Therefore, there's only, in other words, that's why Vrindavan is called as the land of no return. Mm-hmm. Once you come here, you're bound to commit so many offenses, and the only way you're going to be able to rectify it is to stay here. The only other way that it's possible to rectify is that if you go to Mayapur and take the blessings of Mayapur Dham, to go out and preach the glories of Braja to the world. By preaching the glories of Braja, include preaching about the superlative nature of Braja Bhakti to the whole world, you can become relieved of the offenses committed against Braja, because Krishna so much appreciates that service. But that means to say that in spite of the fact that you go out, spiritually, you don't ever leave Braja. You should never leave Braja. It's against the law. If you come to Braja, if you get the
Against the
mercy
wall,
of Radharani to even place one foot on this dust of Brajadam, you're eternally bound to serve Brajadam. And if you go against that bounden duty to serve Brajadam, you're illegal and you will be punished for the greatest offense against the holy God. If you leave Vrindavan for any reason other than the reason as Prabhupada left, to preach the glories of Brajadam to the world, he had no other intention. To preach the glories of Brajabhakti to the world, for the benefit of the fallen Indian souls. If you leave Vrindavan for any other reason, then you are doing the greatest aparadh it is possible to be done to Vrindavan. If you leave Vrindavan to go to Haridwar for Kumbh Mela, because in Haridwar, by doing the snan, bath at Kumbh Mela during the time of the Kumbh, then you will attain moksha. You will never take birth again. If you leave Vrindavan to do that, you're Mahadama. If you leave Vrindavan to go to South India for sightseeing tour, to take darshan of the various holy places, tirthas, etc., then you're doing Mahadama. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't go to South India for sightseeing. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to South India to preach the glories of Brajabhakti. That's how he picked up Gopal Bhatta. He was staying at the house of Venkata Prabhu. Venkata Bhatta was a Vishnu Bhakta, as is practically almost 99.9% of those in South India. But he was preaching indirectly to Gopal Bhatta in his discussions about the distinction between Radha and Krishna worship and Lakshmi Narayan worship with Venkata. And he enlightened Gopal Bhatta, and Gopal Bhatta became one of his most important generals among his exclusive He didn't go there for South India, as some think that he should do. He had no other purpose but to preach the glories. Spread the glories of the chanting of Krishna. He never left. More mana Vrindavan. My mind is wherever you go, that is good for you. Wherever you went, he took Vrindavan with him. The preachers of the Krishna consciousness movement are supposed to understand this thing. They're supposed to understand that what are they preaching? They're preaching the glories of Prajapati, which means Ravi. There's no Prajapati without Ravi. That's what this movement is about. But devotees misunderstand because they have not deeply read Srila They've not actually penetrated the subject. It's not so difficult. Braja Bhakti means that we live for them. We're entering on their stage and dancing according to their tune, to their play. Not that we drag them to our stage and dance, make them dance on our stage according to our tune. That is not Braja Bhakti. That may be Dwarka Bhakti. Maybe like this. It's not Braja Bhakti. Braja Bhakti is only Dwarka Bhakti is not. Like in the Bhakti. There's a mixture of desires for self-satisfactions. All three or more. Even though they're spiritual. There's not only spiritual. Only you will find not only devotion in the spiritual. And this movement is meant to preach the cult of Vrindavan. Prabhupada said that he hoped that some serious students take it very seriously to do this, preach the cult throughout the world. He says clearly in Chaitanya Charitamrita, what is the cult of the man? Without following the footsteps of the Prajapati, the general footsteps of Prajapati. They don't understand. It's very clear. Only Prabhupada didn't want it to contain it. We wanted us to embrace it wholeheartedly and fight for Krishna. Fight for Radha. It was Radharani's desire to illuminate his words with the beautiful quintessential rays. Therefore, she agreed to combine with Krishna and appear in the form of Chaitanya, backed by the power. The power alone cannot do so effectively. But when she gets backing of the power, then she can do it. Mahaprabhu is not just Krishna. It's Krishna serving Radharani's mission. Krishna has surrendered to serve Radharani's mission. Radharani's mission is to distribute Braja Bhakti to the whole world. And that is Prabhupada's mission. Goswamis, who were deputed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to excavate lost holy places like Brajadam and to write volumes and volumes of literatures which clearly elaborate the science of Brajadam for the benefit of fallen souls in this age of Kali. And Prabhupada is the representative of that Rupa Nuga Sampradaya. And we are also supposed to be representatives of the Rupa Nuga Sampradaya as preachers on behalf of Srimati Radha and her followers. That is the meaning of Gaudiya Vaishnava. We are Gaudiyas. Gaudiya Vaishnava. Vaishnava means devotee of Vishnu. Karshna means devotee of Krishna. And Gaudiya means the devotees of God. We're doing all this preaching, everything is for the pleasure of God. We're thinking we're doing it for the pleasure of Guru, but we're not understanding Guru's position. What is Guru? Guru is the most intimate devotee. Real Guru, if he's actually Guru. He's most intimate devotee of life. In doing her mission.
One of Bhakti Note's last prayers says that there's a certain class of devotee who's perfectly expert at following all of Lord Chaitanya's instructions. And because of that, he's incessantly worshipping Srimati Radha more than 24 hours a day. And he wants to fall down on the ground and take the dust of Lotus feet of such a devotee as his regular worship every day.
At least I can speak for myself. I belong to God. I don't know about everybody else. Sometimes I want to poke my head out the door to see whether anybody else is also belonging to God. Sometimes I want to try to impress upon others that that's the way we should be thinking. At least for those who aspire for human freedom. It's a good idea. To align oneself with Radharani and her best friends. And even if we're not, because all of Brajabhakti is permeated with Madhurya. And as we pointed out before, all of Brajabhakti are certain. Radharani is Vrindavaneshwar, Brajeshwar. Everyone in Braja loves Radha, even more than they love Krishna. Almost. They attach themselves to the service of God. At least those who are Madhurya, who have no common sense, can understand that all the other groupings, what to speak of other things, she, by various transcendental maneuvers, makes the arrangements for the others to also have some service to her soul. She wants to share this. She's not selfish. She knows that that's what it means to pleasure. Even if it means that she has to surrender to her own compassion. What could be more painful? But please, Krishna, she's proposed to me.
We'll test with
You want some more candles?
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.